Hi guys, it's John, your favorite YouTuber. I'm back after like a week and a half MIA. I've had a lot of stuff going on, dental surgery among other things, but I'm here and I watched the last, I love how they call it the last presidential debates because I'm like, it's only the second one. I'm pretty sure with Hillary and Trump they had like four, I don't know, but it's whatever. So I actually made notes this time. So if I'm looking down a little bit, that's why. Um, because I didn't want to just be like, oh yeah, and what other stupid shit happened? That happened. I actually wanted to know what I was gonna say. Other than that, it's unscripted. I'm just giving my opinion. So first, I wanted to talk about Trump responding about North Korea, and this is probably my favorite part because something that really annoyed me was like even back when I had Trump derangement syndrome, I would be like, people were like, "Oh, Trump is in Putin's pocket. He likes to hang out with dictators," and then I was like, I remember one time I was like, "Wait, so do we have any reason to believe that he is doing anything wrong there?" And they're like, "Well, you're not supposed to talk to dictators. They're bad." Like, okay, first of all, maybe, yeah. I mean, who we call a dictator really depends on whether they're our ally, whether we have something to gain from them or not, whether or not they have resources that we want to use or trade. So really, I mean, concentration camps doesn't really equal a dictator in the world stage. I'm not saying that Kim Jong Un is not a totalitarian leader because he is, but if we can't just pick like two or three countries, especially if one of them is China. I mean, come on, guys, this is not Mao Zedong time. China is not what it used to be. Yeah, they got problems, but a lot of it is. I know people on the right don't want to hear this, but a lot of it is misinformation and fake news, really. Like the whole Uyghur Muslim thing, it just fits in with the left's Muslims are victims narrative, which is not true. They have affirmative action in China like you wouldn't believe. They have like the double standard that we have, where like you have to be nice to minorities and not say anything bad about them, even when someone is wrong as an individual. They have that climate, kind of like we have here. So there's a lot of things people don't know about China, and like the fact that they're just like throwing or genociding or throwing a whole ethnic group or religion into camps is. I've seen videos. I've seen how they twist it. It might not be an ideal way to deal with terrorism, but it's not concentration camps like they're saying. There's people who have been like reported by the news as being put in a concentration camp, and then they come out, not even like on Chinese news, like on Facebook or something that they're not even supposed to be on, and be like, guys, I'm still alive. Me and my family did not get thrown in a concentration camp. Like, I live in like Shanghai and work in a company. Like, what are you talking about? But that's beside the point. So we say, oh, he's buddy buddy with dictators, and he insults our allies. But honestly, like that's one of the things that I've always been supportive of. Like, just because someone's our ally doesn't mean we should be a doormat. Just because we're allied with, most of Europe doesn't mean that we need to just do whatever they say or just go into any agreement they want us to. Especially if it's not mutually beneficial, and in many cases, if it's not beneficial at all. But why, you might be wondering, do I care about Trump talking about North Korea? So they tried to pull that, oh, you're friends with dictators, because he said, oh, me and Kim Jong Un get along very well. That's a good thing. Okay, first of all, okay, so I'm a person who's very interested in the history of Korea and Korean culture in North and South Korea, everything. So basically, for the last 70 years, since the country was formed, of North Korea and South Korea, when it started, they both had totalitarian governments, no freedom of speech. They didn't really have democracy. I mean, they still don't have democracy in North Korea, but they didn't even have it really in South Korea. They had like a it was kind of a scam. They tried to act like they were like similar to America. They were kind of our puppet, but they were also very totalitarian. But North Korea, no, ever since its founding, has been just hit with sanctions and blah blah blah. Basically, oh, we can't talk to them. They're bad. They're the bad guys. They're the enemy. And I understand that a little bit right after the war and everything. But if you spend 70 years, like literally every news article in English, mind you, that you read about North Korea is like, oh, we need more sanctions. We need to push them with sanctions. And people read that and they think, oh, yeah, good idea. Not a good idea. It's not been working. They tried to do that with China. And it wasn't until the U.S. realized, oh, wait, we should probably talk to these guys. I mean, they've calmed down a little bit on their radicalism, which they had. Mao Zedong died and everything. And, we could benefit from trading with them and having a relationship with them, and they could benefit as well. And they could also be encouraged to be less totalitarian and have less human rights abuses by actually having contact with the outside world. Because when you isolate a totalitarian regime, they just buckle down more. Like North Korea just wants to be recognized as a country. They're not actually trying to blow anybody up. Like that's really what it is. And not only do they say that, like they make that very obvious. If they wanted to blow people up, they would have done it already. Really. And we have countries on the planet who also have who also have nuclear weapons. I'm not saying I'm okay with them having nuclear weapons, but there's other countries that do, and we're just don't. Nobody even knows it. We're completely fine with it, or we're not fine with it, but we don't give them sanctions. We don't have a cow. It's basically just politics and posturing. It has nothing to do with helping the North Korean people. It has nothing to do with lessening tensions. Really, it's basically a pile of bullshit. So Trump is like, well, yeah, I want to talk to the guy, and everybody said we were going to be in war, and now we're not. At least we have decent relations with them, and hopefully we can improve it in the future. I'm like, thank you, and he said exactly what I've been saying for years, which is that just burying them in sanctions and never talking to them is what we've been doing forever. He didn't put it in the, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he referenced to, and it's true. Like for real, guys, that's not doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is not just craziness; it's stupid. And if we have a 30-second memory like a fish, and we're just going to forget that yesterday I read the same damn article about North Korea, same article every day, it's BS. It's not real. It's fake news. Because if you speak Chinese or Korean, you read South Korean news, Chinese news, hell, even I don't know, uh, news in other random languages that are not even don't have ties with North Korea at all. Like you will see a lot of very interesting stories about defectors. Like there was a woman, and I never found anything about this in English. There was a woman who left North Korea for economic reasons. She wanted to go to China, but her broker, the person who was helping traffic her into South Korea, like kind of tricked her. She actually wasn't trying to go to South Korea. He was like he could make more money that way, and she thought she was going to a certain part of China. It was something like that, and she ends up in South Korea, and she's like, oh, I don't want to be here. Like I want to be able to go back home, but she's like, well, I'm here, and they won't let me go back. So she went through the process of becoming a South Korean. Um, a defector or whatever, and started working or whatever, and she really missed her family and she wanted to go back. But the authorities were like, you're not allowed to go back. The South Korean authorities would not let her go back. And it was like, even in South Korea, it was kind of a scandal. Like, they actually ended up putting her in jail multiple times because she kept trying to escape back to North Korea. And it's like, there's just so much that goes on when it comes to North Korea. It's not what you think, that it's just like I mean, there are a lot of people who escape because they have problems there. They don't want to be there. They go to South Korea and they have a better life. That is some people, but there's just so much to it. And just looking at everything as this black and white, not even black and white, just one color, this one thing. For 70 years, it's not working, guys. And I could make a whole like series of videos on North Korea, so I'm just gonna stop that point there. Um, I thought it was interesting. I'm proud of Trump for pointing out Biden's corruption, his bribes, the money his family has received. Biden was basically like, well, that's not me, that's my son, which is not really a good argument because you didn't even come out with a proper defense of your son or deny it. And that's a whole topic. Some of you probably know about that. I'm not surprised, but I am surprised. I'm surprised it actually came out, especially by a leading newspaper. But it was kind of annoying because then Biden was literally like, "Oh no, you got money from China," and Trump is like, "Where? Prove it. Like, where is even an allegation aside from just people saying it with no minute proof?" And then Biden's just like, "No, you got money from China. The evidence that I got money from other countries is just, it's just a Russian plot." He's like, "You think Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York, is a Russian shill?" It's like, yeah, like you can't just make allegations with zero proof. And if you're gonna, and the only times Biden says it's literally like talking to a child. You say something, you did this, and they're like, no, you did that, and he did the opposite too. A lot of times, Biden was like, oh, I'm gonna have us buy American. I'm gonna put America first. He didn't use that expression, but I'm gonna prioritize Americans. All this stuff that has to do with um, that's Trump's things that Trump has either already done or is working on. Um, a lot of it was just really, it was just really annoying. So because people, I think he's counting on that. Oh my god! And Trump called Biden out for being a cheap politician because they asked him a question and he's literally just like doesn't even answer it. He's like, oh, it was about his family. He's like, my family doesn't matter. This is about your family, America. You're at the table. You're starving to death. Black and brown people. I care about you. He keeps comparing poverty to black and brown people. First of all, what is brown? Tell me. There's no race called brown. It's just like a way to make it seem like you have white people and you have everybody else. That's not really how life is. It's not really how society is. We're all in this together in actual reality. Like on one point, Biden's talking about, oh, I don't see Democrat and Republican. We're all Americans, whatever race we are. Unlike Trump, who's a racist. Like, proof. I'm waiting. So, hello, sir. Can I have some more proof, please? I'd like some proof. And he's like, you want some proof? Well, Trump is a racist. Like, just say the same thing again. That's not proof, man. Sorry. And, and at some point he said, oh, I'm not going to do Obamacare. I'm going to do Biden care. And I don't know why, but that was so funny. And I think Trump was literally like surprised. Trump was like, and what's really funny is Trump. Nobody can act like he's not a funny guy because even the reporters that hate him will have let out some side chuckles, some stifled laughter, and even Biden, who was doing his constant nervous laughter, trying to laugh everything off as if Trump was not being reasonable. Even then, like sometimes I think he was actually amused. Like even when he was getting made fun of, I think Biden was actually laughing because it was funny. A little humiliating, but it's quite interesting to notice that. Um, oh, and then I forgot to mention Biden did. No, I think it was the moderator actually did point out something that supposedly suggested that Trump could have gotten money from another country, being China. He explained in detail. I was doing business in China. I was interested in doing a certain deal. I decided it wasn't financially lucrative. I had opened a bank account in 2013. The records had been looked at, and he pointed out that during the Russia investigator, the Mueller report, and all this stuff, they went over his tax returns. They went over his Chinese bank account. I believe he mentioned. I'm pretty sure they did. They went over just plethora of information from his life documentation. They combed his life to look for any evidence, and they didn't find it. So, and and he pointed out in detail the Chinese account, why he had it, when it was opened, when it was closed a couple years ago. Both were before his presidency. Um, so there's a lot of stuff that I constructively criticize Trump on that he does not point out. He does not give the details for the people that are just Trump deranged and don't know any better. But in this case, he really did. Like some people are just a lost cause, but I think a lot of people watching this are gonna be like, oh, that you mean that's not actually like what I thought it was. That's interesting. Or at least they could, if they were interested, they could look into it. Okay, Trump's bank account in China, they could look for actual information, not just opinion pieces, and they'll find things that verify his claims. Um, so then, and another example of that, of Trump making a fair point, putting evidence in there, putting facts, was how Bernie Sanders and the people in Vermont tried to do universal health care in Vermont, which is a very liberal, pretty wealthy place, and it didn't work. I know a little bit about it. I'm not sure if they did it and it didn't work, or they were trying to implement it and it just was not feasible. I think it was the second one, but he talked about that. I thought that was very interesting and smart of him to talk about those details. Um, and I will give Biden credit for the fact that he was being pretty smooth, But that's not what we need, guys. We don't need someone that's being smooth and sliding between things and ignoring questions and deflecting. We don't need someone who looks at the camera and is like, American people, oh, I care about you. Like, I don't need that. I don't need you to say you care about me. I don't need your feelings. I need you to do some shit, which you haven't done in like 47 years. And Trump pointed out that, and he pointed out his cheap political maneuvers. Um, and then and Trump also talked about what he's done for the black community in detail, funding the HBCUs, what they are, how that works, how the funding works, how he extended the funding to 10 years or more. Um, yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. And Trump really grilled Biden on, like, well, why didn't you do it before? Trump could say, I'm going to do this. Oh, well, that sounds nice. Trump was like, well, that sounds nice. Oh, well, I want to do this, so I'm going to do that. Well, why haven't you done it before? You were in the White House for 8 years. And he's like, well, I was just the vice president. I'm like, so the vice president doesn't do anything? He's like, well, I couldn't do it with Obama, but I'm going to do it now. Like, you couldn't do it at all, ever. You don't have to be president to get something done, especially if you've been a senator and vice president. Okay. Um, I think the moderator, yeah, it was the moderator. She brought up stuff about Trump, like that he supposedly shared a video of someone saying white power, and when they phrase these things, this is the power propaganda people. They say, "Well, you shared a video on Twitter of a man shouting white power," so you imagine him just tweeting a video of an actual Nazi saying white power. It was a video from the Villages, which is my part of the world where I used to live, which is an old folks city or like community, but it's like a whole city, like a whole big town of just old people. So it was like a golf cart caravan, like kind of Trump parade, and then like a line of like old liberals like booing them, and this one lady was like, "Boo, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," like, and then they kept being like, "Woo, America, USA," and then I think one person said racist, and so one of the old dudes going by in the golf cart was like, "White power," like, and he said it like as a joke. I mean, if you could think he was serious, that's I don't know. Even I mean, like, really, an old white dude in the Villages in Central Florida. This is so funny. If you saw the video, you would understand. It was funny, but it was literally just one little part of a video that it was like a clip of that Trump shared. It was like one of his campaign videos. I think it was supposed to show like kind of the vitriol and the conflict in society and show like improvements and people coming together. It's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah. So they point that out, make it act like, oh, you just shared videos of people saying white power. And um, I wish he had explained that, but I mean, he's probably explained away that one so many times, probably just sick of it. But he reiterated what he's done for the black community and how he didn't fall into that trap of like, well, no, I'm not racist. Like, the thing with the difference between Trump and your average politician, a politician will ignore a question and try to appeal to people's feelings, usually liberal politicians especially, to, look good. And then hoping you'll just forget about the question because you're enamored by what they said because it sounds nice. Trump is sometimes indirect, and I have given him constructive criticism for that. But it's almost like he answers questions directly, usually right after it happens, because he gets accusations. Bless you. And it's just like he has to answer the same question so many times that eventually he just ignores it because he's like, I'm not even gracing that BS with a response. So bless you. And so I mean, I can see where it's coming from, and not even know. It's like I'm torn between like you have to convince these people that have TDS that that these propaganda lies are lies, and also the fact that a lot of people are just gonna believe whatever they hear, and you could disavow white supremacy hundreds of times, literally, and it's not gonna even do anything for some people. They're not even gonna listen to that part. They're gonna be like, la la la, I don't hear you. No, you're a racist. I don't hear you. La la la. That's what they're gonna do. Um, Biden lied a lot. He just lied, or like he responded to facts, but that's not true. And then he said sometimes he would say that's not true and say the opposite. And some of it was situations that I knew very well, and I'm like, you're literally both guys lying hoping that people would just not know the facts on that and just believe you because they happen to want to believe you because you're not Trump and they have TDS. Um, and then what I thought was interesting was um, like the sorry, I'm a little out of it, guys. Um, what I thought was very interesting was that Biden said he's been trying to change his like crime bill since it was put in. Or he's been trying to change something. He said something since the 80s and then the crime bill since the 90s. And Trump was like, "Well, what's taking you so long? Like, how long does it take? It's been 40 years." Like, it's like basically. Um, yeah. So and then so then one of the last points I noted was like the moderator said, "Oh, in certain parts of the country we have like oil facilities that let out pollution, and these areas are most often widely inhabited by black and brown people." What do you say to that? Like, of course, she says that to Trump. And he totally ignored the race bait. I really was happy about that because he could have been like, I mean, he did say like they're gainfully employed. These are areas where that um, industry employs people and helps people in a way and he didn't really address the pollution problem, but it was really a loaded question because I think part of the what they're talking about is like Flint, Michigan, where they don't have clean water and places like that. Some of these places, it's like oil places can have oil leaks, and if some of them happen to be near black neighborhoods, like that's not it doesn't actually have anything to do with race because there's lots of ecological damages being done all here and there to various degrees. It's not like it's not they just said, "Oh, here's a black neighborhood. Let me put this oil facility here and then intentionally leak oil that is going to cost me money." Like that's so he just ignored the waste aspect of it. Gave a pretty decent answer. I was happy about that. Um, Supposedly, the legacy media is claiming that Biden won the debate. I don't even know why anybody claims or pretends to, say, "Oh, this person won or that person won." Even if it wasn't the situation, people are just gonna choose to decide who won based on their bias, based on who they want to win. They're not actually going to listen most of the time. That's why a lot of people think debates are useless. What I think they should do is do like a podcast, like get Joe Rogan and have both of them sit there in his studio and just talk to both of them, and there won't be no loaded questions. No, like, well, racism is horrible. What do you say about that, Trump? Oh, well, you're a Democrat. Democrats are not racist, even though you are. What do you say about that, Biden? Like, it bothers me because their questions for Biden are like, "Oh, well, Trump has been criticized for this. What do you think? Or what will you do about it?" It's like, they're just, so it really gets tiring. Like, even if I didn't think Biden was just a complete talking head, like, partisan hack, an empty suit, then even if I didn't think that, like, nobody wants to hear. It's like when if you're at a job interview and someone says, "Oh, well, I see you were fired from your last position. What happened?" And you're like, "Oh, well, my boss was an asshole and everybody there sucked. I did nothing wrong." Like, nobody wants to hear that. It's stupid. It's like if you tell a kid, "Oh, why'd you punch him in the face, little Timmy?" And he's like, "Well, Jimmy punched me in the arm." Okay, well, I didn't ask you what the hell Jimmy did. I asked you why you punched him in the damn face. Like, that's basically what it is. It's like talking to a child, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, I just want to give a recap for that, guys. I'll be back around soon. Please leave comments down below. Please visit my other channel, Mentally Interesting, if you are interested in languages. Please leave a subscribe. It would help me grow my channel. And the more subscriptions I get, the more I'm able to really put myself on here. And I mean, I'd love to make like a video a day. Unfortunately, I got so much stuff going on, but it'll definitely help me, if anything, to feel encouraged. But also I'd like to know that I can reach more people. So if you're watching, I would appreciate a like and a subscription. That'd be awesome, guys. You're the best. And to all my other subscribers as well, thank you for your continued support. And I will see you guys in a couple days, probably. Depends what happens. I gotta find out where to vote, y'all, because I moved to a new place like I always do, and I re-registered, re-registered to vote. And I don't think you need your voter's card, but I'm gonna have to call them tomorrow because I don't know where to go. Yeah, but it's definitely on voting on what is that called? Voting day? Yeah, on voting day. November 3rd. I'm gonna be there. Okay. Thanks guys. Bye.